Hey, Steve Bechtel here. Today we're going to talk about a couple of books. And as many of you know, I just had a new book, Logical Progression. The second edition of Logical Progression came out. And so I want to just talk a little bit about Logical Progression and the other book that we had released in 2019, which is Unstoppable Force. Now, one of the things I've really tried to avoid is to write an encyclopedic volume on all training or all training for movement or whatever it is. And one of the reasons I avoid that is because anytime you get to an encyclopedic level, you get to a point that the message becomes very, very unclear to people that are actually in the gym. If you give an athlete way too many options, they become paralyzed by that number of options. And so one of the things I've done is to take these concepts and carefully isolate down specific things that really seem to work for climbers. And so Unstoppable Force is a book on strength training. And one of the things that's fascinating is the idea that climbers don't need to be any stronger, because man, we pull our way up these cliffs all the time. But in the world of sports, badminton to track to fighting to you name it, the top athletes are always strength training. And one of the great lessons of my career has been seeing the great progress that you see with tennis players or with triathletes once they start picking up weights. And so The Unstoppable Force is a book I was able to write with Charlie Manganello, which is a guide to strength training, and not just weight training, but using weights, using hangboards, and using other strength implements in order to increase the amount of force and tension we can put forth as climbers. And so it's a strength manual, and if you're a climber that is not as strong as you'd like to be, Unstoppable Force is a good place to start there. Now, Logical Progression is a programming book. It has some exercises. It has some instructions on how to do things, much like Unstoppable Force, but that is not the guiding principle behind this book. The idea behind this book is to figure out a way to sequence training so that your training can continue to progress. One of the things that we see with climbers is they'll go into the gym, boulder 2 days a week, they go to the crag and they climb on the weekends, but they never get any better. And so this is all about getting into that mindset of improving and figuring out a sequence of different stimuli for your muscles and for your body that will help you get better. The original Logical Progression suggested that we switch between like a strength focus session, a power focus session, and an energy system developing session, and just sequence through those three types of sessions as your entire program. And there are some variations and stuff in the book, but I put together the second edition in response to questions that athletes had about the book. I literally, as soon as the first edition came out, I just took one, I kept it on my desk. Anytime I got a question about it, I wrote that question into the text of the book so that I could answer that the next edition. Second edition answers all of the questions I got during the first edition, and it adds in block programming, which is really focused nonlinear programming, meaning I want to really focus on getting stronger this month. And how would I set that up? I want to focus on getting more powerful this month. How would I set that up? And it goes deep into program design, and it goes into a lot of the reasons why I don't like traditional or what we would call classical periodization. So if you need to get stronger and you want to learn how to work around the weight room, use the hangboard, Unstoppable Force is the key. If you're interested in building a better training program, Logical Progression is where you'd like to start. I hope that helps clear up some questions. Thanks.